Hey guys, Spirit of the Law here. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Malians, who have gone from average or slightly above average last patch to seemingly instant top tier this month, judging by the online win rates and performance. While they recently had 3 direct buffs and are also winners from the longsword changes, the thing that gets the most attention is their gold bonus, going from 30% longer lasting gold mines to now 15% more gold dropped off. It's a bit like fractional reserve banking, in that every time their gold miner deposits 100 gold, the bank gets 115 added to circulation. In this video, I want to take a good look at the new bonus, and not just how it compares to the previous one, which we will do, but also how it compares to other civilizations' bonuses, with 1v1 games especially in mind. I should note before we start, however well the gold bonus does hold up, it's really just one of several things that are working for the Malians. They have nice archery range options in the mid-game on top of good camels, decent knights, a useful unique unit, and extra pierce armor on their infantry. Claiming their recent success is all due to their gold bonus seems a little reductionist. It may be more fair to say it's just what seemed to have pushed them into the top level, but again, we'll see how good it is. To begin with a comparison to last patch, previously having 30% longer lasting gold mines was pretty straightforward. Basically, they would just mine at their usual rate, but the gold taken from the mine would go down slower than usual, meaning they could mine longer and get more gold in total than you'd otherwise expect. Given a standard generation on most maps has 15 gold tiles around your town, instead of 12,000 gold, Malians could get an extra 3,600 from their mines, before needing any of the neutral gold piles on the map, trade, or relics. Now, just the generic 12,000 gold is actually a decent amount and gets you up to Imperial Age, able to afford 85 archers, 52 camels, and 5 trebuchets, along with all of their relevant upgrades. The effect of the Malian bonus after that point was to let you make another 50 archers and 22 more camels, assuming the game lasts long enough. That extra gold can be more significant than it sounds in the late game, as often by that point you've already paid for upgrades, so it can all go directly into more units. That all sounds pretty good, but keep in mind that the average online AoE2 game is 40 minutes long, going by the in-game timer, which is very often before you use up your main starting gold piles. Even in the games that did reach 45 or 50 minutes, if longer lasting gold mines encouraged a Malian player to stay in their base mining gold for longer, it may have even led to their opponents moving out to grab the neutral gold piles first. Ironically, meaning that both players in a 1v1 may have ended up with more gold than usual in a very long game. All of this together is why previously this was considered a bit of a situational bonus. Now let's look at the new patch, where gold miners drop off 15% more, which despite sounding like it went from 30% to 15%, is in fact a much stronger bonus. The main thing working in its favor is it's now 3 totally different bonuses, basically stacked on top of each other. The first of its effects is simply a direct gather rate boost. However many resources a villager would be expected to gather, he's just going to drop off 15% more. The second effect of this bonus is it's also secretly a carry capacity boost. Normally, collecting faster would mean you would have to drop off more often, but it turns out they carry 12 gold without wheelbarrow, where a regular gold miner carries 10, to keep the frequency of their drop-offs at about the same rate. Since villagers stick to whole numbers, before wheelbarrow this means they're carrying 20% more gold, so they drop off a tiny bit less often than usual. But after wheelbarrow and handcart, they drop off as frequently as other civilizations with equivalent upgrades. The third independent effect is they get more gold than usual in total, reminiscent but not quite the same thing as a longer lasting resource bonus. Each time they do the work of mining 1 gold, the mine loses 1 as it should, but the villager gains 1.15. From your starting 12,000 gold in your base, that adds up to an extra 1,800 that just appears out of thin air. And note that both of these gold piles shown here are going down by the same amount. This is actually different than how the Mayan longer lasting resource bonus and the previous Malian bonus work, where the villagers gathered at the usual rate, but the gold mines go down more slowly. That can have the side effect of a generic civilization using up their mines first, which, like I said before, means they might go off to secure other gold on the map before the longer lasting resource player is even thinking about that. With their new bonus though, Malian mines run out at basically the same time as everyone else's. They just have an extra 1,800 resources in the bank to show for it. Now all this got me wondering about a side question of whether this is enough to make mining gold and buying other resources from the market, at least for a while, faster than collecting them directly. Malians certainly wouldn't be the first example of a civ that can indirectly leverage a collection rate boost and hack the market in Feudal Age to get a totally different resource faster than they usually could. Generally, this is Saracens, Poles, or Koreans mining stone to sell at the market to generate gold a bit faster. But remember, the Malian ruler Mansa Musa famously inflated market prices everywhere he went, thanks to his generosity and vast wealth from Mali gold mines. So might AoE2 be able to mirror history here? If we grab some feudal gather rates, assuming you have double bit axe, we can reverse engineer the price you should be willing to pay up to buy a resource with gold for either a generic civilization in white or Malians in yellow. If during a game where we still have gold mines, we notice the price to buy 100 of a resource is less than one of these numbers, we're technically faster at mining gold to buy it from the market than spending the same villager time gathering the resource directly. There's no reason to have 5 villagers collect for a minute to get 100 stone, for example, if those same 5 villagers put on gold for 45 seconds could let you buy that same stone. That's the idea here. Of course, notice the Malians numbers in yellow are higher than a generic civ because they gather gold faster, so they should be willing to pay a slightly higher price. If we look at the starting market prices in each game, notice that all of them are a little higher than even Malians should be willing to pay, implying it's better to just collect resources like usual. That is, until we remember you can pick up the gold mining tech in Feudal Age. If you have that tech, notice that food is actually faster to mine gold and buy than to farm directly, at least until you bid up the price above 145. I'd say it's general knowledge, but if anything, food prices tend to become elevated in Castle Age, as farms are costly to start at 60 wood each, and players will also sometimes lean on the market to get up to Castle Age a bit faster and unlock stronger units. For Malians in particular though, this bonus makes it possible to move 1 or 2 villagers off farms and onto gold, and in some situations might not just be convenient, but even the optimal play if done in moderation. If we go a step further and factor in the wood cost of farming 100 food, you could even argue Malians are okay buying food up to a price of nearly 170, where for other civilizations that stops making sense around 150. At least in the short term, you can make an argument for Malians buying food, though long term it also has some drawbacks. On the other hand, for stone or wood, the numbers don't really work, and in the long run, the ideal way to collect those is to just do it directly instead of moving those villagers to gold. At this point though, we can probably agree the bonus is looking pretty solid, and to me the next obvious place to go is to see how this compares to other civilizations with gold bonuses, and put them all into perspective. To me, the most obvious comparison to start with is to the Turks, who have 20% faster working gold miners. You'd be forgiven for thinking these are basically the same bonus, or the Turks might have the better version, but it's not quite that simple. First of all, I found even with a very well-placed camp, with walking time included, Turks have more like an 18% advantage, compared to the Malians' pretty reliable 15%. The main difference is Malians end up with 15% more gold in total, or again 1800 more from their starting map generation. We have to give a slight collection rate edge to the Turks, but it's very close, and I think the Malians bonus ends up arguably a little better overall. Next up, another very nice gold bonus is for the Bohemians, who have free gold mining as well as stone mining techs. Usually, players don't grab gold techs the moment they're available, which in the meantime means the two civilizations are basically indistinguishable, having about 15% faster gold miners than usual in early feudal and castle. Remember, Bohemians also save 1,000 resources in total cost, offsetting the Malians' long-term extra gold. For me, this comparison comes down to whether you prefer saving some food and wood in the mid-game or having more gold in the very long run. But Malians do end up with a higher collection rate after picking up the gold techs in each age, and also end with more gold in total. So again, in this comparison, I think Malians had the edge. Another civ with less obvious similarities is the Aztecs. They have +3 carry capacity, matching the Malian gold miners, though it goes without saying this is nowhere remotely comparable to +15%. Switching our perspective though from gather rates to the total gold available to you, remember Malians end up with 1800 more gold than usual. Aztecs, of course, have their own long-term extra gold generator, with 33% more gold from relics. For some perspective, in this case, with 5 relics, it would take an Aztec player 36 minutes for their bonus to match the 1800 extra gold that we've been crediting to Malians. That means while it's technically possible for the Aztecs team bonus to be worth more than the Malians in the long run, probably the exception to the rule. But while we're on the topic of long-term gold generation, what about the other civilizations with a gold trickle while gathering, namely the Poles, Burgundians, and Vietnamese? To start with the Poles, they generate a bit of extra gold while mining stone, But assuming they collect all of their nearby stone, that still only just turns into 1,050 gold, compared to the Malians' 1,800 extra from their starting gold mines. So obviously it's not on the same level. On the other hand, Burgundians and Vietnamese have unique techs, giving farmers and lumberjacks a trickle of gold while working, which is theoretically infinite. To give a ballpark idea of how they compare to the Malians' total gold from mines, it would take 30 Vietnamese lumberjacks about 50 minutes to catch up with the Malians in total. Similarly, it would take 40 Burgundian farmers 44 minutes to catch up to the 1,800 gold, and this is ignoring the cost of both techs. Clearly, these are very slow trickles, and emphasize again that the Malian bonus is a lot more than just a speed boost in the early game. Another more indirect gold bonus is the Portuguese unit discount. Taking away some cost for aging up and technologies, a 20% gold discount on units actually ends up being quite similar to the Malian bonus, again thinking about the very long term and being able to pump out more gold units than an opponent. Even during the mid-game though, having a 15% collection boost and a 20% resource discount probably have a very similar effect on your economy in practice, if you're making a lot of knights or crossbows. Again, highlighting how similar I feel these bonuses are. Obviously, there are important differences between Portuguese and Malians, like the Portuguese lack camels. But finally, that leaves us with just one civilization left, which is of course the Spanish, and their brand new gold bonus. Spanish now get 20 gold each time they complete researching a tech, which is a tricky bonus to estimate, as it obviously depends on how many techs you pick up. Trying to choose what I thought was a reasonable number for each age, I came up with an estimate of about 400 gold refunded by the end of Castle Age, and up to 800 in total. That final total is probably on the high end, and long-term Malians almost certainly get more from their mines, though the 400 or so that Spanish can theoretically generate through techs by late Castle Age seemed fairly strong, and I wanted to at least attempt to compare that to what you could expect from Malians over similar time periods. To investigate, I spectated a 1v1 game between a couple of high-rated players with Italians and Dravidians, and then tracked how many techs they'd researched and how much gold they collected at various points. We can then average them together and see how much extra the Malian bonus would have generated versus the Spanish bonus throughout the game. Applying both bonuses to the data gives us this graph, representing how much each gold bonus would have been worth under these conditions. Admittedly, it's not the most rigorous analysis, and players might act differently with those bonuses than just having it layered on top like this, but I still think the general trend would hold. My instincts say that Spanish get out to an early lead through Loom, Double Bit Axe, etc., and have an easier time getting the gold for Castle Age faster than Malians, but the longer the game goes on, the more I think Malians are probably ahead, but feel free to disagree. So that's the major gold bonuses that came to mind, and how I feel they compare to Malians, obviously ignoring trade bonuses, which don't factor into 1v1 games and have their own set of assumptions. For the most part, as expected, Malians stack up pretty well, giving you something similar to the top collection rate bonuses, while having their total extra gold only bested by the Mayans' longer lasting resource bonus. Like I said off the top, this is just one part of what makes Malians so dangerous these days, but give them a try and tell me if you notice the gold bonus either in the early game or that you just seem to be making gold units for longer than you feel you normally would, as you probably are. That'll do it for this one though. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.